Okay, Wellness Family, Coach Sid making coffee and giving you an introduction to part one of 4 parts for March. This series is based on an interview conducted by a local Nairobi journalist slash reporter, and he allowed me to record the conversation. So, because it was about an hour, I cut it into 4 pieces. This is the intro to part one. We're dealing with belly fat, and I think that's important to us in the retirement and expat community because I don't want you to be on your way to the grave when you finally have earned your retirement. So let's deal with this subject. The first part, he starts off with some questions where I identify different types of fat, whether it's visceral or subcutaneous, and its impact on your health. We're going to go over a lot more in the 4 parts, so stay tuned. Part one, if it resonates, if you feel it, hit the like, subscribe, you know what to do. Peace. Hey, Coach Sid. I am here with reporter and journalist with Business Daily Africa, Ndugu Abisai. Did I say it correctly?
Correctly.
All right. This is just a quick rehearsal because we're going to have a conversation. Ndugu's going to ask me questions. Topic today will be belly fat reduction, hip fat, those things. And hopefully it'll be informative for everyone.
Yeah. Looking forward.
Boop.
We good?
Yeah, we're on.
Okay. So see, we have been talking so much about visceral fat.
Yes.
And how to manage. It's becoming a pandemic, if we can say that.
Yeah.
For many people, and we are seeing a lot of people going out looking for quote unquote unnatural ways, quick fixes and shortcuts to manage fat around their bellies. So I'll jump right into it.
Okay.
Maybe we get to understand what are the causes of belly fat specifically, and how do hormone stress and age play a role in all this.
Okay. Oh, first, guys, if you don't know, this is journalist Ndugu Abisai. He has been producing articles on wellness, fitness.
Yes.
For Business Daily Africa. He had a conversation with me last July where they were following some of my exercise routines regarding me being, what was I? That was July. That was 8 months ago.
Yeah.
I'm now 63.
Whoa. You were 62 then?
Yeah, I was 62 then. According to the article, there's no proof. Find my birth certificate. So anyway, what you were just asking, so we'll dive right in, but I just want you to know this is a fine journalist who took the time to ask me to talk to him again. So before we get into what you were saying, I just want people to understand that there's science and there's a lot of technobabble, and truthfully, a lot of people are just using big words to make themselves look important because they're selling their channels or whatever. And I don't want to do that. Let's talk about the things that work in a way that people can use. So when you're choosing a doctor, because anything that I say, I don't want to be misconstrued. I don't want it to replace the advice of your physician, okay? All I can tell you is choose your physician wisely because you have to rely on him. You know, in America, that's, I responsibly must tell you this. But find a physician that understands functional medicine, preventative medicine, and that can help you with lifestyle changes that will give you the results that where he doesn't have to give you drugs and suggest medication and expensive procedures. Okay, so you mentioned hormones, stress, and age regarding belly fat. Now, let's be clear when we're talking about belly fat, because there's 2 types of fat, of course, that we typically describe. They're both adipose tissue. They're adipose fat. It's just that one is on the outside. Okay, it is subcutaneous, and I call that the good guy fat. It's safe fat. It's meant for a reason. It stores fuel to be used when there's less food, okay? And your body can store tens of thousands of calories of it for times where you're not getting a lot of food. Of course, most people can't access it, and they rely on carbohydrates for fuel. So they store a lot of fat, but they never access it and spend it. They just store it, but they don't spend it. They're just spending glycogen or sugar as fuel. And your body only stores a few thousand calories of that. Your liver and your muscles, you may store like 3,000 calories of glycogen. That's why building muscle does help with blood sugar regulation. The more healthy muscle you have, You can store a little bit more. But even if you have a lot of muscle, it's a finite amount that you can store. Your body can store many times more fat that you can access. Unfortunately, the reason we get belly fat is that we have high insulin and we can't access that fat. We're not getting to it. So that's the strategy. This fat out here is safe, but there's the visceral adipose tissue that surrounds our organs. We're talking our liver, our pancreas, our kidneys, even in our colon, and for God's sake, our hearts. Our hearts can get loaded with this as well. Now, this fat is dangerous, and it is, what did I write down? It is the main determinant. I want to be exact for you guys. I don't want to mislead you. It's the main determinant of insulin resistance. It's intra-abdominal. It's under the muscle here and surrounding our organs. It's not that fat you can pinch. And it releases hormones, inflammatory chemicals called cytokines. And it increases the risks of type 2 diabetes, heart disease, dementia, stroke, high blood pressure, all of the things that are these issues that plague us now. That's the pandemic that we've seen exploding since the 1980s in the West. And here, it's coming on strong too. So that's what we're talking about. Now, we're talking about belly fat because belly fat is how you know that you are suffering from insulin resistance, hyperinsulinemia, and you have that nasty, reactive, inflammatory fat in your body. This we have to address. Now, we're talking about hormones. Yes, hormones. Stress is a major contributor to this.
Also.
Yes. But remember, if you remember from the notes I gave you from these questions, I don't worry about age as much as others that want to tell you about different ages and what to do. Let's not make this overly complicated. Learning these good habits work at every age, and you'll have a longer and better quality of life and a longer health span by learning the basic principles of wellness, where your diet is well balanced, where you're meeting your nutritional macros, protein, fat, and a reduction in your carbohydrate piece of that macro pie. You can address this. I hope that gives you a quick answer. I don't mean to run on. Please.
It's okay. Now, you've spoken about subcutaneous and visceral fat.
Yes.
How do you assess whether belly fat is either subcutaneous or visceral? And does the approach differ from each?
Yeah. I was watching a lecture from Dr. If I mess up your name, Dr. Jamnadas, I'm very sorry. Indian doctor, and he described, I've heard him say terms like tofu, thin on the outside, fat on the inside, because in what would you call it? Is that East Asian culture, India, all that? He says that people don't look fat, but they have just as high diabetes and heart disease and hyperinsulinemia.
Wow.
You just don't see it. But he can tell. He says he can tell when you walk into his office if you're suffering from this, because from the back you won't see the fat. Your waist looks pretty normal, but when you turn to the side, that's where you see the belly fat. And as soon as he sees that, that is his signal that this is what we're dealing with: is hyperinsulinemia, pre or diabetes or pre-diabetes, and this insulin resistance is the main culprit of all of these diseases, these outcomes that then must be treated with drugs and medication that can be prevented and treated through lifestyle changes. But yeah, when you see a family member come into the room and they look normal till you see them sideways and then you see it, you're like, that's it right there. So that's a quick way that you can kind of know what you're dealing with, the difference between this dangerous inflammatory fat and then the fat on the outside, the kind you can pinch when you pinch your mommy, butter loaf. That fat's not going to kill her. She could go hiking with her friends on the weekend. That fat is not going to cause her the heart disease. That's why obesity is associated with early death and cancer and everything. But let's look at this with more nuance. Some of this fat is not what's killing you. Okay. We have to deal with the metabolic illness underneath that's causing fat around our organs on the inside. We deal with that, we'll breathe easier. Imagine that fat inside of there compressing and putting pressure on your heart, your organs. It's stressing you out, even mechanically. Breathing and exhaling, all of these functions, these natural functions, are impaired by this visceral, active, inflammatory fat that's just gumming up the works. If I can make it sound like that, think of it that way, you know? Okay, what's next?
Now, we've in a way spoken about now this disposition of fats, and for many people who realize this, you've spoken about a doctor, they would want to start dealing with it, to live healthier lifestyles.
Yeah.
So what realistic timelines should one expect for noticeable belly fat reduction?
Yeah.
If they are being consistent with the things you've said.
Well, I remember when you prepped me with this question, what I wrote was, good question, it depends. And it really does depend.
Yes.
Because some levers that you pull, some changes you might make, you may not see results immediately, although you're still moving in the right direction. People want to see dramatic results quickly, and that would require a dramatic change, a revolutionary change done quickly, which might upset you even more, and it would be difficult to do. You might turn back and reject those changes because you didn't do them gradually and in a more holistic, natural, organic way. You know, I coach people in doing things step by step, where you make small changes, but they're done consistently. And then over time, you have found yourself in a different destination. What did I mention about the cruise ship? If we start moving the rudder just a few degrees, you don't see the change immediately. But once it goes 100 kilometers down crossing the ocean, you'll be 1,000 kilometers in a different location with you'll be in a different place. And the same is true of your health. So I would not tell a person to look for immediate change. Now, some things done, sacrifices or changes made, you'll feel better immediately. Put it like this. If you took 30 days off of just drinking alcohol, wine, beer, spirits, 1 month, okay, you'll start feeling a difference in a few days because you'll stop pressuring your liver and you'll start to sleep better. That means you'll start feeling better and have more energy during the day because your sleep is doing its proper job. Dr. Sleep is active and doing his regenerative work while you sleep because your body's not dealing with a neurotoxin where it can never get to flushing the trash out in your brain or refreshing your hormones. So it can't do that if you're dealing with poison. So even some of these small changes will make you feel better immediately. But if you want to cut inches off your waist, now we're talking about a process where you pull the levers of nightly fasting, of eliminating toxins in your diet, like alcohol and overabundance of starches and carbohydrates, increasing your protein intake of high quality protein, eating healthy fats rather than the ones that are filled with omega-6s, inflammatory fats like the cooking oils, the processed seed oils that they sell us for cheap here in Kenya and back in the United States. Poor people are buying it because it's affordable. And then they make the high quality fats, butter, ghee, extra virgin olive oil, they make them more expensive so that we can't afford it. So they're like, they're pressing us into inflammation. We're going to find ways out of this to help everyone here and there.
Amazing.
Yeah. Okay. So back to this, timelines. If you cut out dangerous habits, you'll start feeling better almost immediately. But the changes that you want to last a lifetime, don't think in terms of days or week. Let's think in terms of 3-month blocks, 6-month blocks. If you really want to think about time, give yourself realistic expectations. You're not going to be running half marathon 21Ks immediately if you're not an athlete. You're going to do a walking program. You're going to do some moderate exercise even just in your home. You're not going to go out and buy outfits and buy an expensive membership. You're going to walk around your neighborhood and do some exercises in front of a TV watching an exercise video on YouTube. You're going to do those little things. You're going to work on getting your sleep. You're going to drink good, clean water. You're not going to put sugary drinks in your body and follow fad diets. You're going to give yourself digestive rest at night. Now you're thinking, let's say this is February, this is mid-February. If we were starting this if you were working with me and we started now, I would say we're going to really measure your waist every week, but then we're going to graph it, and then we're going to see where we are in 3 months. 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. In 3 months, you'll see, hopefully if we've done this, and you haven't been cheating and drinking beer every weekend, if you haven't been cheating, you're going to see a couple of inches off of your waist. You see? But you'll be feeling so much better. You'll be like, let's continue. Now, if I put you on a liquid diet, something like that, and you're going to drink these juices, your insulin's going to remain high. you're going to be craving and miserable the whole time. And then when you go back to refeeding, you're going to get fatter because you damaged your lean body mass. You've lowered your metabolic rate through calorie restriction, and you've caused mayhem. So I try to teach people to do this in a way where you get and stay stronger while reducing the assault on your organs.
Okay.
Hopefully that answers.
It does.
Okay. I'm using a lot of words. Sorry, guys. Sorry.
Understandably.
I'm excited. You know me. I love this stuff. I live to learn this and then share it.
Yeah. And you're doing quite a good job because this is not information that is out there for free. It is information that people buy to access.
Right.
And
everyone wants to know, am I writing a book? And I'm like, no, I'm.
A book?
Yeah, I was asked that this morning. When's your book coming out? I'm like, right now, let's do this for free. You know, someone will compile the history of what I share, and then we'll make an ebook, okay? But for now, let's help people.